So we hear a lot about Changi, its military past, about the horrors of war perhaps, the prisoner of war experience. But it's also a place where the prisoners of war lived life as normally as they could. They participated in sports, they participated in theatrical performances. Changi was my childhood playground. It's a place that my parents were very fond of. And they used to bring me and my sister here as children. There used to be lots of pillboxes that lined the beach. And they also became part of that playground, that I spoke about. So we could imagine ourselves to be soldiers defending the coast. And it's really that, a wonderful experience that you don't get anymore today. We are in an area where Changi really began, first as a leisure destination and as a military site. How we know that? There is this rock in the background that's kind of a geographical landmark here. So this is the rock, the famous rock. The naval base was by the Straits of Johor. And to protect the naval base, the British military authorities decided they wanted to put guns here. So guns to defend the naval base against a sea attack. And once they intended to put guns here, next thing was they needed a garrison. They needed a garrison to house engineers, to install and maintain the guns, artillerymen to man the guns, and also infantrymen to maybe protect the guns. So as a result, 3 big camps were built, one right here called Kitchener Barracks. There's Roberts Barracks as well as Selarang Barracks. And that really started the development of Changi as a military site. As we know, there were British soldiers who were POWs sent to this part of Changi called Kitchener Barracks. You had this huge space, you had 3 big camps, and on the 17th of February, some 45,000 Allied soldiers were marched to Changi, soldiers who had surrendered. And Roberts was turned into a prisoner of war hospital on the 27th of February. Everything was consolidated there. And one of the things that happened at Roberts Barracks was, this guy, Stanley Warren, who was a patient at Roberts Hospital. He painted this set of 5 murals called the Changi murals. So his story is told in Changi Chapel and Museum. This gentleman by the name of Stanley Warren, he was ill, very sick, but he managed to pull himself out, got help from his fellow prisoners who were also patients at the hospital, procured material to paint these murals. And the paints, for example, were pigments. They got it from everyday objects, but they were not easy to find. One of the things that they improvised with was the pigment for blue. So blue was obtained by crushing chalk that was used for billiard sticks or cues. In doing this, he gave his fellow patients and prisoners in the POW hospital hope where there was none, maybe. And it's something that I think uplifted the men in the hospital who were gravely ill, got them through some of the darkest days. I think there are many more stories of the prisoners of war, of the experiences that are told. Especially important to remember what has happened during the war, during the occupation, when the prisoners were held here. It was really the darkest days for many of them, darkest days for Singapore. It's something that should never be repeated. It also resonates with many people overseas, because many of them may have family members who were prisoners of war too. And often you find people who visit here have that connection with the past.